Hey guys, Levi here with Trident Fly Fishing, and today we're going to be tying a Sculpzilla. Very solid sculpin imitation, a good streamer pattern whether you're fishing a large river, smaller water. It just plain works, and it's a pretty easy tie. We'll get started with it right now. We have a Daiichi 2557 hook in the vise. This is a trailer hook, size 4, nice black nickel finish. So first things first, we're gonna get started with some 20-pound Dacron backing. What we're gonna do here is loop it like this, get that loop nice and small, and just run it through the eye. Grab it with your left hand, and then you gotta take the hook out of the vise. And we're gonna just take that loop, make sure it's nice and straight, and loop the whole hook through it. And that gives you a nice connection there for your shank coming up front. Just gonna throw some thread down. And you won't need to take this thread all the way back to the bend of the hook, but get it about midway. We're gonna tie in a zonker strip. Snip the excess. And bring your thread right about midway, maybe a little more than that. And we're gonna move into some black barred rabbit strips. This is the color olive. It's a good fly, tie in olive. Browns are good. Any earthy tone works quite well. You could probably get away with tying it in white, and I'm sure the fish would like it. So you're gonna need about 3.5 inches of this for this fly. So let's measure that up. And you wanna err on the side of generosity here, in that you don't want it to be too short whenever you get to that shank. So feel free to make it a little longer than 3 inches if you need. So get that out of the way. And we're gonna size this to where the zonker strip ends just after the bend of the hook. So get in there, wet your fingers, and separate those fibers so you have a nice clean tie-in area. And bring that thread just right behind your backing and tie this in a few nice tight wraps. Once you get that, pull it back and tie it off. Throw a couple whip finishes in there. We'll do 2 just because this is a lengthy tie. And I always want that extra security anytime I'm tying a fly that takes longer than 10 or 15 minutes. Yeah, 10 minutes actually. All right, so snip your thread. And we're gonna move into a B10S hook. We're gonna put a XI cone on there. So get that in the vise, and I'm gonna wrap some thread right in front of that eye, because we're gonna throw some lead in there. You only need to bring this back about once. We're gonna throw some lead in there. That provides just a little bit more purchase, and then whenever we go to glue this, it will keep everything just together. If you put lead on a metal hook shank, even if you do coat it with some super glue, epoxy, whatever it may be, it does tend to deteriorate over time. So I like to have, and this goes for any fly with a cone head, I just like to have that thread up there. So get that, and we're gonna move into some 030 lead wire. You don't need a lot of wraps, maybe 5 or 6. This is really just gonna be to push everything up there. All right, so we can, it's less neat than I want it to be. There we go. Now we just want to shove that in there. And from there, we're gonna put our thread back on the hook shank, and we'll wrap this about midway. So we're not gonna use this whole shank, or whole hook rather. It's not quite a shank yet. But wrap that, and then we're gonna attach our trailing hook right here. You want this to be, that's good. Like I said, we're going for about a 3-inch fly here. So get that tied in. And you want to make sure it's nice and straight on top of that hook shank, not cocked off to either side. And from here, make sure this is sized appropriately. We have excess there, that's fine. But get this, and what I do, put a little loop in there, and then pull it back like that. And if you put that loop and tie it in one way, and then reverse tie it, that connection is not going anywhere, regardless of how big the fish is on the other side of your line. So snip the excess of that backing, and clean that up. For dubbing, we're using ice dub UV pearl. That'll imitate that underbelly of a sculpin. Tends to be a little on the lighter side of things, but if you want, you could use brown, olive, any color that works for you is fine. We'll just loosely apply this to our thread. We want this to be bulky yet buggy. This is a fly you can tie in quite a range of colors. Earth tones are always good. Black's a safe bet. Brown is, you probably tie it in hot orange, and I'm sure it would work depending on the fishery that you're in. Isn't quite tight enough. There we go. And you want this profile, this dubbing profile, to sort of taper and get larger as we move forward. Dubbing's a little tough for me right now because I got some super glue on my fingers from the last tie. So bring that up about almost in front of the cone. You want to leave yourself a little bit of space there because we got some feathers to wrap, some other stuff to do up here. So we're gonna shorten this up just because this is excess. Get that out of the way. And from here, just tuck that right on in to your cone and then secure it. All right, so now that we have our zonker tied in behind the cone, we're gonna move into some strung guinea feathers for a little soft tackle. Nice color in there. And this is also a pretty stiff fibered feather. It's webby, but it is stiff enough to where it's gonna kind of prop everything up as well. So we're looking for something that is gonna be about maybe half of that fly's entire length. This feather's working good for us, so let's go ahead and pluck that out. And if you guys have questions about this fly or stories, maybe you caught a big fish with it, feel free to drop that in the comments below, because we do like to see what our viewers are getting into here. So just go ahead and, like we've done in the past with other flies, just grab that by the tip and just sweep everything back. And we're gonna want to tie that in right on the side here. So tie it in at a 45-degree angle facing southwest and clip that tip off. And like I said, that's a nice eye for a future fly. So now we're just gonna palmer this. No, we're not gonna palmer it, we're gonna wrap it. Get a couple of turns out of these feathers, and you can stop once you get to that webby, more marabou looking stuff. So from here, we're gonna move into some olive marabou. We're gonna palmer one of these guys on there and create a nice flowing body. So what we're looking for here, we don't need super lengthy fibers, but we want a nice uniform feather. This one looks good. Go ahead and pluck that out. And we'll strip some of these fibers off the bottom of the stem here. Get those out of the way. And just like we did with that guinea feather, we're gonna pull these fibers downward and tie this feather in by the tip. Again, at about a 45-degree angle facing southwest. Get this tied in by the tip at that 45-degree angle. that I love to talk about so much. Make sure it's nice and secure. You don't want to pull it out when you go to wrap it. You can even leave that tip in there on this fly. So get a couple of winds here. And tie it off. And if you get any fibers trapped, just get in there with your bodkin and free them up. See, like so. Whenever you have all this material, sometimes things will get trapped. Alright, so you can wet those fibers if they're standing in your way. Then we're moving into grizzly soft hackle, marabou patch. These things are sweet. These skins, you get a lot of variety of feather on there, and these ones towards the rear, that's what we're going to be working with. These nice plumes, these are really good sculpin fins. We need 2 of them, so try to find 2 that are pretty equal, and pop those off. You can see that barring is really nice on there, and they also have a little curve to them, so we'll tie them that way so they extend outward. All right, so size that up. We want this to be just shy of the guinea there. We're gonna get that tied in. Guinea tied in right on the side for those sculpin gills that are pretty prominent on the real thing. And again, snip that. And we'll do the exact same thing on the other side, but you want to play it safe and measure that first. Make sure it's the same length. There we go. And snip that excess. Alright, so what I do here is pack this cone with dubbing before I apply super glue to the nose. And that just, A, it ties the profile together, finishes it off, B, just gives a nice just sort of barrier for this cone so it doesn't push back. And for the dubbing, all I'm going to use is just the same stuff we used on that zonker. It's the same color. This rabbit dubbing is nice and easy to work with. Blend it up a little bit. And then just go ahead and apply it to your thread. And this doesn't need to be super neat or anything like that. It's really less about aesthetics and more about function. A little more. Get that nicely pushed into the cone, and then we will finish this off. You'll see with that dubbing, then you don't have any gap between this and the body of the fly. So now, we're going to take this out of the vise, and you can cut this now actually. You can wait until you super glue it, but if you wait, then you end up having glue everywhere. So and we're just going to throw some super glue right on in there. You can be liberal with this. And really get it in that hole. A little glue in the eye hole. Like so. Grab one of these 1/4 inch 3D eyes and just pop it right in there. We'll do that on the other side as well. Just a little dab. Cap your super glue. And grab one of these eyes. And just get it in there. And if you have to use your bodkin to push it in, do so you don't get it stuck to your finger. You'll see in this one, we cut the hook shank first. And reason for that is because once we have this super glue in here and here, I don't want to be messing with that hook shank, because then you'll end up getting fibers stuck up here, and then you'll lose fibers and your fly just won't look as good. So I just prefer to cut that shank first, just for ease there. And then you can let this dry, but that is a Sculpzilla. I want to thank you guys for watching, and I will see you next time.